Yeah, g'day, bush camping tools here today, and we've got with us Kizlyar Supreme's Survivalist X knife. Okay, let's have a look at that. So this, if you don't know, is one of the hollow-handled style survival knives. Now, I guess people out there are either going to hate these things or love them. Hollow-handled knives have been around for some time now. And they were popularized way back in the 80s with the Rambo style knife, and you've got the buck knives, and you've got the still existing A-Tor knives, and now Kizlyar's on the market, and they've got several models of what they call the Survivalist with a hollow handle. So let's take a look at that just briefly here. Comes with either an OS 8 or a D2 blade choice. This one's in D2 tool steel. The handle is a machined aluminium aircraft grade alloy handle. You've got two steel bolts going on this side and another side here fixing the tang, and the tang protrudes into the handle to about here, like that there. Okay, and there appears to be some reinforcing steel tubing with inside this aluminium here too as well. So at the butt end, just quickly, it's very well machined up. At the butt end there's a O-ring seal around here. It's not going to be waterproof but splash proof, because of course there's a hole coming up through this way here, and you've got a very small survival kit. I really wouldn't call it a survival kit as such. In this one it's actually quite good actually. It's got hooks, sinkers, fishing line, some very big phosphorus headed matches, a single band-aid, and a couple of other things, some safety pins, and we'll look at that a bit later on. But anyway, that's the hollow handle. It's not very big, you can't put much in there, that's it. But these hollow handle knives, they're not going away. So I thought, yes, as I said, I'd like to review it. We've got some thumb jimping on here. So the important thing that everybody is thinking about when you think about hollow handle knives is how strong is this knife? If you're touting it as a survival knife, is it going to be able to handle the paces in a survival situation? So in the coming days, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this through some tests, and we'll see how tough this knife is. Yeah, and then we'll look at the summary at the end and see what you think. So thanks very much. This will be a good test for the knife. This is hardwood. Now, it's not really a test for the D2 tool steel, because I have every confidence that the D2 is going to be sharp after hacking into this Eucalyptus. This is a test to see whether the handle comes loose after hacking into something so hard. Now, it's got enough weight in it for a good chopper. The design of the blade, as you can see, it's a kind of a drop point here with a swedge up there too. In terms of comfort, well, I haven't got a gloved hand on, and it's not too bad. I think if my hand was wet, or the handle was wet, like all these hollow handled knives, without exception, they'd be a bit hard to hold on to. Now, okay, let's break that off, because as I said, in a survival situation, you're not going to you know, be doing that. Let's have a look at that. Okay, hold on. What we can see is this is really rock hard material here, this Eucalyptus. That's very hard, and that blade had no problems in going through that, and there's no chips in that. And if that was going to chip, that would chip. That's still as is there. That's very nice. And so is there any looseness in the handle laterally? No. This way or this way? No, no looseness in the handle. So that's a pretty chunky bit of wood. Not normally would I do this in these conditions because there's lots of wood lying around on the ground that you can pick up, but if you had to, you certainly could. And that's the whole point about a survival knife. If you have to use it, you tend not to use the knife because the knife is going to be the most precious, one of the most precious things you've got in terms of tools to make other tools with. And speaking of that, we might make some kind of a sharpen the end of this. We'll have a look at this now. Okay. The other thing about this knife is they've got this kind of wedge on the back here, which they say is, Kizylar Supreme say is good for hacking into things where you don't want to destroy the blade of the knife. It's a bit, so yes, you can see that this is really hard eucalyptus, and it's certainly hacking in there, and that will help preserve the blade if you only have to hack into things. And I could, with some effort, of course, hack through this entire branch, I reckon, like that with the back of it. And it's not too sharp. Yeah, no, is there any lateral movement? No, still pretty good. Anyway, let's have a look at this here. With this, see if we can sharpen this off. Right. That's very nice, that. See, there's a bit of a knot there. Right, that's getting a nice bit of a digging stick. It's pretty chunky. We'll narrow it down a bit here. Okay, look at that timber. That is beautiful wood, that. That is way, way, way hard. Absolutely. Well, we're looking at the tip there. No problems with that. And again, so let's have a look at that. There's no wobble in there, no movement whatsoever. That's deadly sharp still, as I would expect, as I said, from D2. Yes, that's absolutely deadly sharp. Okay, let's move on. That's the back of the knife. So that's for hacking. That's pretty good for hacking. Now, can we hack down a tree with the back of the knife? Because it's a single-sided bevel, it's only going to be really good in one direction because it would tend to glance off like that. So I'm going to use the knife instead. Alright, so there you go. Any looseness in that? Let's see. Not a bit. And that's certainly what I would expect. Yep, absolutely. So we need a bit of a support for the roof of this jungle house here. So notice what you should always do is, especially in a survival situation, I'm cutting over this wood here now. I don't want to plunge the knife into the ground because there could be rocks underneath of here. and doesn't matter what kind of knife it is, it's going to damage the blade if I plunge that into rock. So if you have to cut something on the ground, cut it over a lump of wood. Right, so I really want this cut here. Just letting the weight of the knife cut this itself. The blade's very, very sharp, so it's just doing all the cutting itself. No need to beat the bejesus out of it. Right. There you go, that can be used for something else. And we've got a prop here, okay. So again, that's some green wood, but test of that, no movement. So let's use this. Lots of bloody big spiders around here. Again, these palm bracts are really great. You can prepare food on them, as I've spoken about many times. They can be spread out and weighted down to build a shelter, a roofing for a shelter. They're just really great bedding, all sorts of things. So if you're in the jungle, you can really make use of them. And you don't have to climb a tree to get them. They shed their leaves, and these bracts come down, obviously attached to the main part, so they're really, really good. And of course you've got other building materials here. You can dry all this stuff to light fires, whatever. It's really good. This is making a good job of that. Yeah, fantastic. All right, okay, keep that for bedding, all sorts of stuff. So what we're looking for here is water, and these plants will contain water in their roots. If we can get a big enough root out, maybe not here, we'll just see. Maybe possible. Or even in this trunk, you can see whether that's going to be possible or not. Start dripping water. Let's have a look. Right, what we're going to see is if we can get any water out of this. Let's have a look. Okay, so we've got some water coming out there. It's not much, but if you were dying of thirst out here, yeah, there you go. It's a little bit muddy maybe, but there you go. You see it against the knife there. Water dripping down. Now the idea here is not to suck the water out of the root. Don't try and suck it out, because you're going to suck out the sap, the unpleasant things in there as well. What you need to do is just let the water come out under gravity. So a lot of plants can do this. Now what we did, you might have seen too, was to get this to work, you've got to chop the top of the plant off too. You've got to provide you've got to stop the suction rather in the capillary action within the trunk of the tree. So that's what you need to do, and you can see there that's quite a bit of water coming out of there. That's enough for a drink. That if you were really thirsty, that would be enough to get you going. Yeah, okie dokes. Well, this is a summary now of Kizylar Supreme's Survivalist X. As I said, this one's made in D2. It's a hollow-handled knife, as I said earlier on. And a lot of concern out there for hollow-handled knives is the fact that people are worried about the handles coming loose on them. Alright, so I can tell you straight away, you've seen what I've done with this knife over the past week or so, and the handle is totally firm. There's no lateral play, not a fraction of an inch lateral play on that, and that's what I would expect from a company like Kizylar Supreme anyway with their knives. You can see the machining is very well, the tolerances are quite good there, and as I said earlier on, the tang comes down to about here with inside this knife. So the D2 blade, this one, yeah, in D2, it's still very, very sharp. There's no nicks in that blade. Okay, so this is the carry system for the Survivalist X. It's 1000 denier by the looks of it, nylon, and it's fully MOLLE compatible on the front, so you can put a MOLLE accessory on here. On the back here, you've got a traditional belt loop here, which I've been carrying it around for the past week or so like this. You've got these Velcro MOLLE straps here as well too, so it can be attached there like that on both sides. That's really cool. That, and what else? And you've got, of course, Kizylar sell these things. You've got 1.5 meters of cord comes with the knife. You could replace this cord if you wanted to, or leave this cord here. I see no reason to replace it on here unless you want a different color or something, or a different type. Let's have a look here. Now I want to say something which I'm not too keen about. It's not a big deal, but the knife, you see, when it's in the scabbard, it can't come out, of course, cannot come out of the scabbard, but it does move a bit like that, and that exposes about 2 centimeters of blade here. Now if I grab it here, I'm not going to cut myself if I was to do that. Not going to cut me because the width of the scabbard protects it, but I don't like having this about 2 centimeters of blade exposed there. That's a potential for cutting yourself. You can't really carry the knife in this position because it's going to come down, but if you've got the knife like this, it's unlikely. It's a heavy knife, but if you are jumping up and down, it is a possibility, so I'd like to see that move from there. Other than that, I think, yeah, it's a good carry system. The knife is held up very well. It's no loose handle business happening with this knife. I put it through all the tests I would put a standard fixed blade knife through. And yeah, so there you go. If hollow handle knives are your thing, and a lot of people do like them, they're going to be with us, that's for sure. It's a well-made scabbard, appears to be a well-made knife. It's stood the test, some of my tests out there in the field. So, yep, thanks for watching Bush Camping Tools here.